Hello everybody and welcome to my first ever attempt at a Professor Oak's challenge. I just want to apologize right away. I'm a little sick right now, so please forgive my appearance. I don't normally look like this. For those who don't know, Professor Oak's challenge is getting every possible Pokedex entry before taking on each gym. I decided to start way back at the beginning of the series because through some Googling, I heard that Pokemon Yellow was not too bad. Boy, was I wrong. For those who are still confused about the challenge, here is an example that should clear it up. Before you fight Brock, you're able to catch Pidgey, which counts as one entry. But this also means that Pidgeotto and Pidgeot are also available before Gym 1, if you do enough grinding. I think this kind of demonstrates why this challenge is so daunting. Huge shout out to Johnstone and Chaotic Meatball, whose YouTube videos inspired me to try this out. Also another shout out to Mewlax, whose guide essentially saved my life, and without it, I definitely would not have completed this run. Before we get into the rest of the video, I think it's important to highlight every rule that is relevant to this run. Number 1, the first rule we've already covered, but just to reiterate, you must complete the Pokédex as much as you are able to before you get the next gym badge. Number 2, no trade evolutions are required. Number 3, this kind of adds on to point number 2, but only one copy of the game can be used, which honestly is a lifesaver. And number 4, this one's pretty self-explanatory, but no glitches can be used because that kind of defeats the purpose of this challenge. Okay, let's go. This game starts off and we wander into the grass. Professor Oak saves us by capturing the Pikachu and then giving it to us. You might think this counts as our first addition to the squad, but we don't have the Pokédex quite yet, so that'll have to wait. We run some errands for Oak by picking up his package and returning it to him. For this, he gives us the Pokédex, the item the entire run revolves around. We now have our first entry to the Pokédex, and the challenge can officially begin. A note about Pikachu is this is the only Pikachu in the game, and it cannot evolve, so there will be no getting Raichu. We make our way up to Viridian City, buy some Pokeballs, and start to make our first captures. We easily capture Pidgey and Rattata on Route 1. We then head west of Viridian City to Route 22, where we catch Nidoran male and female, Spearow and Mankey. Now our only capture remaining is Caterpie, which is super simple, and we catch it in Viridian Forest. You're probably thinking right now, wow, General Quirt, this doesn't even seem so bad. You're practically at the first gym. Well, I guarantee you're forgetting that I now have to level up all these Pokemon to their final evolution. I'm begging you, please keep in mind the average experience gain is about 42 experience through battling Pidgeys, Caterpies, Metapods, and the very rare but very helpful Pidgeotto. First, I started with Caterpie because it seemed the easiest, evolving it into Metapod at level 7 and Butterfree at level 10. This falsely grew my confidence, as this is definitely the easiest evolutions to do in this section of the game. With my confidence high, I decided to try Mankey to Primeape next. For those who don't know, Mankey requires approximately 25,000 XP to evolve into Primeape, meaning that to evolve Mankey into Primeape, I would need just under 600 encounters. And I kind of assumed around a minute per encounter, which makes that 10 hours to take theoretically. In practicality, it did take 10 hours, but we got it. We got that Primeape. Look at that. Look at it. Look at it. Knowing how long that just took, I did not have the heart to try Pidgey. So I almost effortlessly, in comparison, evolved into Nidorino and Nidorina. These evolutions cannot go further right now because we don't have access to Moonstones yet. I then evolved Rattata into Raticate and Spearow into Fearow. Now for the beast that is Pidgey. I won't go into detail like this pretty much anymore, but I really need to really make sure you understand what is at stake here. Pidgey makes up a vast majority of the run by itself. Pidgeot requires 45,000 experience to evolve. And again, if the average experience gain is 42, that means I need Pidgey, and eventually Pidgeotto, to solo 1,100 encounters. If the average encounter is 1 minute, this will take 18.5 hours. Not to mention, this does not include the time to go back to the Poke Center and restore my Pokemon's PP so they're able to keep fighting. What did I get myself in? Like, why did I do this? Like, I was like, oh, I'm sick, I should do this. Like, terrible. No, why did I do this? After grinding and grinding and grinding, we did it. We can now go get our first gym badge with a total of 17 Pokemon in the Pokedex. No worries everyone, only 134 are left to go. Brock is a pushover because we are substantially overleveled. Just something to note in this type of run and challenge, pretty much all the battles, including the Elite Four and Champion, are super boring. So if you're looking for Nuzlocke and style intense fights that are meticulously planned out, You're not gonna find that here. I have no problem heel scumming my way through this entire game. Anyways, on to section 2, which is classified as pre-badge 2 for Misty. The one nice thing about this next section is there's a bunch of trainers available, so money starts to become not as big of a problem. We're able to catch, whoa, this is hard to say. We are able to catch Sand Shrew on Route 22. In the Pokemon Center before Mount Moon, we're able to buy a Magikarp from a guy. In Mount Moon, we can catch Zubat, Geodude, Paris. And we're actually going to catch 2 Clefairies because one is needed to trade later on. Not to mention, in Mount Moon, we find 2 Moonstones, which we're able to use to evolve Nidorino into Nidoking and Nidorina into Nidoqueen. While we're in Mount Moon, we grab the Dome Fossil, which we'll be restoring into Kabuto later. We leave Mount Moon where we're able to get to Cerulean City, but we're definitely not fighting Misty yet because we have a lot more encounters to go get. In Cerulean City, if we talk to this very generous lady, we get ourselves a Bulbasaur. After battling all the trainers on the bridge on Route 24, we're able to catch Oddish, Bellsprout, and Venonat. And then, if we talk to this guy, he just gives us a Charmander, which is incredibly kind of him. We clear out the rest of Route 25 so we can talk to Bill and get our ticket on the SS Anne. We then head south to Route 5 where we catch Jigglypuff, and then after struggling for so long, we finally catch an Abra. We keep heading south to Vermilion City and then to Route 11. On Route 11, we're able to catch Drowsy, and then we can go to Diglett's Cave and catch Diglett and Dugtrio. If we then take our extra Clefairy to the other side of Diglett Cave, there's a guy who's willing to give us a Mr. Mime for our extra Clefairy. So we do that and add Mr. Mime to our Pokedex. Now it's evolution time. Basically, for the grinding, we just battle every single trainer we possibly can. Then once we've beaten all the trainers, we go and fight Digletts and Dugtrios in Diglett's Cave. So here are all the evolutions. We evolve Sandshrew into Sandslash. Oh my god, I cannot say this Pokemon. We evolve Sandshrew into Sandslash. We evolve Magikarp into Gyarados, Geodude to Graveler. Something to note, as there's no trading in this game, we won't be evolving Graveler into Golem. We evolve Paris into Parasect and Venonat to Venomoth. Something to note for the next 2 evolutions is we don't have access to Leaf Stones yet, so we won't be able to evolve them into their final forms, but we are able to evolve Oddish to Gloom and Bellsprout to Weepinbell. I don't know what happened with Oddish to Gloom. I can't find the footage anywhere, but I promise you it happens because I have the footage of Gloom to Vileplume. I then evolve Abra to Kadabra and Drowsy to Hypno. And then we have the last 2 big ones that everyone's been waiting for. We turn Bulbasaur into Ivysaur and then to Venusaur. And last, but certainly not least, was Charmander to Charmeleon, and then finally to the beast that is Charizard. Honestly, huge thank you to Diglett's Cave for really starting to speed up this grinding process. In the first section of the game, the average experience gain you get in Viridian Forest is 42, but in Diglett's Cave, the average experience gain is 236. And for those who are wondering, that's over a 5x increase in XP. So like, in comparison, this has felt like the easiest thing in the entire world. We're now able to take on Misty, and as the same case was with Brock, she goes down with little to no effort at all. That's another huge section of the game done, but sadly, we now have the biggest section of the game ahead of us. Honestly, this is when the game like opens up almost in an overwhelming fashion, and you kind of realize how poor the game design was when they made this game. I understand the game's old, but it's like bad. It's like actually bad. We head back through Diglett's Cave and grab the 3rd Moonstone now that we have access to Cut. And then go to Pewter City to grab the old Amber, which will eventually become Aerodactyl when we can get to Cinnabar Island later in the game. I also then used the acquired Moonstone to turn Jigglypuff into Wigglytuff just so I wouldn't forget later. We had a lot going on and I wanted to get this done right away. You can catch Magnemite on Route 9 east of Cerulean City. You can then catch Machop and Onyx in Rock Tunnel. And huge pro tip here, please, 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 please do not waste any experience on Machop. I made the mistake of trying to level him up a bit while I did battles and made my way through the game. Really regret that. I didn't realize what was coming. After Rock Tunnel, I went straight to Celadon City, and here in the department store, they have all of the stones, except Moonstones, that you will need for evolutions. So whenever I evolve a Pokemon with a stone, assume it was from there. With these stones, I turn Weeping Bell into Victory Bell, and Gloom into Vileplume. You're also able to get a free Eevee from the back, which I absolutely do, and then immediately evolve into Jolteon. Another thing we can do in Celadon City is gamble our life away, but the slot machines are mega rigged, so over the course of the entire section, we will have to make sure we save our money, and whenever I have the chance to buy coins, I do. So that way I'm able to buy Vulpix and Porygon from the games corner. With a Firestone, we quickly turn Vulpix into Ninetales. We now can take on the Team Rocket hideout, and in this hideout we find the last Moonstone we need, which allows us to evolve Clefairy into Clefable, and that has completed all of our Moonstone evolutions for the rest of this challenge. We finished clearing out the Team Rocket hideout, so we're able to get the Sylph Scope for the Lavender Town Tower. A couple things I really regretted is not having more evolvable Pokemon in my team. I should have grinded up my Pokemon to a level where they were able to actually fight Giovanni on their own, but because I didn't do this, I had to waste a bunch of experience on Charizard throughout the run. It would have saved me a lot of time in hindsight, but I just didn't really think of it at the time, and I kind of regret it now, but that's okay. Also, I was using Machop, which was a huge waste, but oh well. We move on. Before we head back to Lavender Town, we grab a Doduo on Route 16 west of Celadon City. Once we get to Lavender Town, we grab a Ghastly and 2 Cubones. It's a surprise tool that'll help us later. We continue up Lavender Tower and rescue Mr. Fuji so we're able to get the Pokeflute so we can move past the Snorlaxes and catch one of them. I head south of Lavender Town and encounter the Snorlax that blocks the path, and honestly caught him way easier than I thought it was going to be. After the Snorlax, we can go a little further south and get the Super Rod, and this is one of the reasons we get so many new encounters. I continue even further south and head to the bottom side of Fuchsia City, where I use the Super Rod to fish up Staryu and Tentacool, adding them to our collection. This is when I waste a lot of time. I hadn't planned my route out super well. I realized I had to head back to Route 13. While there, I fish up a Horsey and a Seadra. I honestly love it so much when you catch the evolved form of Pokemon because it just saves so much time not having to grind them. I then continue back to the passage between Vermilion and Cerulean where I can trade the Cubone for a Machoke, which is so nice because this counts in the Pokédex as us getting a Machoke and it evolving into Machamp from the trade, so we hit 2 Pokemon with this one trade, which is so nice. We then continue our journey north and catch a Goldeen with our new Super Rod on Route 24. I then head back down to Route 13 where I encounter a very hard to find Farfetch'd and I catch it. But this is how you can kind of see I'm wasting time. I am bouncing all over the map and this is a pattern that continues, but I'll no longer highlight it because it would take way too much time up if I did. I head back down to Fuchsia where I'm able to enter the Safari Zone and get several encounters after a ridiculously long time. I'm not kidding. This took me, I was in the Safari Zone a ton of times. Like it was ridiculous. I don't know why I said it like that. It was ridiculous. It was dumb. It was just stupid. We get Tangela, Rhyhorn, Execute, Scyther, Kangaskhan, Tauros, Pinsir, Chansey, Marowak, and Dratini. Yes, I know. Dratini. After the Safari Zone, I evolve Staryu with the Water Stone to get Starmie. I also realized I missed an encounter on Route 22, so I had to go all the way back with my Super Rod to catch a Poliwag. Then I headed to Route 10 and fished for a Krabby, which I easily caught. I then went to Cycling Road to catch Shelder and Ponyta. We continue along Cycling Road and head to Saffron City and fight the Fighting Dojo to get Hitmonlee, meaning we will not be getting Hitmonchan as these are another decision-based Pokemon pair. Also, in Saffron City after beating Blue and Silphco, if you talk to this scientist, he'll just give you a Lapras, which is like super cool of him because we save his life, I guess. Okay, we have now caught and received every Pokemon we need. Now all the evolutions begin. And I'm just gonna say this, we're not gonna go through it in great detail. The best grinding spot at this stage for the most XP is Route 17. So basically, that's where I did the most of the grinding. So like, just, there you go. Boom, we don't have to go through it any more than that. Here's all the evolutions. We evolved Magnemite into Magneton, Doduo into Dodrio, Ghastly to Haunter. We won't be getting Gengar because we cannot trade, just a reminder. Ponyta to Rapidash. We used a Water Stone to evolve Shelder into Cloyster. We evolved Poliwag into Poliwhirl and then used a Water Stone into Poliwrath. Goldeen into Seaking, Krabby to Kingler, Tentacool to Tentacruel, Execute. Wait, how do you say Execute? Execute. Execute to Exeggutor using a Leaf Stone. And this one took a while. Rhyhorn to Rhydon. And you're probably thinking, wow, you missed one. Don't worry, I didn't. Last, but certainly not least, is Dratini. I need you to understand my pain. Getting Dratini to evolve into Dragonair at 30 and then Dragonair into Dragonite at level 55 means a total of 40 levels need to be gained. Through a lot, and I mean a lot of battles, we turned Dratini into Dragonair and Dragonair into Dragonite, meaning we were finally done this section. 105 Pokemon have been registered in the Pokédex. Keep in mind, this is all before the 3rd badge. We have caught 2/3 of the Pokemon that exist in this generation in about 1/4 of the game. That's just bonkers. Like, Who designed this? I think I've earned the right to have a little rant. Something I really hate about this game is the item and box management. And I know this game's old, but they really designed the worst management system I've been a part of. Your bag and boxes get full. So if your bag's full, you can't pick up items. You have to toss a bunch of items out, or as I did, sell pretty much everything that wasn't essential. Or if your box is full, if you try and catch a wild Pokemon, it just won't let you catch it. So you have to go back to the Pokemon Center, go to your PC, switch the box that's selected, then go back and try and catch a Pokemon. It's just such a terrible system, and I'm so glad in the new Pokemon games they've got this sorted out. Now, we fight Koga as the third gym because he gives us access to Surf, and which will give us more encounters earlier, rather than taking on the typical third gym, which is Surge. Koga goes down with little to no effort at all because our team is ridiculously overpowered for this stage in the game, and we continue our hunt. I just want to acknowledge that we are well past the hardest part of the challenge, and I literally feel like the weight is off my chest. The rest of the challenge is like so easy in comparison. Getting to this point was a grind. We head to Route 12 to go catch Slowpoke, and then we go to Route 6 to get Psyduck thanks to our new ability to surf. Also, because we can now surf, we have access to the power plant, meaning we can catch Voltorb, Grimer, and Muk. Oh yeah, this is also kind of important. We can also just catch Zapdos, which blows my mind. We're able to get a level 50 legendary Pokemon before the 4th badge. This game is so balanced, and I see absolutely zero flaws with it. We then surf to the Seafoam Islands and catch a seal, and head back to Cinnabar Island. There's a fossil lab here, which allows us to get Kabuto, and then Aerodactyl. From here we go to the Pokemon Mansion, which I would way rather call it Volcano Manor, but that's just me, and here we can catch Growlithe and Ditto. Honestly, the grinding process is pretty straightforward at this point. The best places to grind Pokemon at this stage of the game are either the basement level of Seafoam Islands or the basement level of the Pokemon Mansion. So we do some grinding, and here are all of the evolutions. We evolve Psyduck to Golduck, Slowbro to Slowpoke, Voltorb to Electrode, Kabuto to Kabutops, Seal to Dugong, and then using a Firestone, we evolve Growlithe into Arcanine, bringing our Pokedex total to 122. I'm not even going to talk about Lieutenant Surge, but we can now fly around, which will save us tons of travel time. Also, the only Pokemon this actually unlocks is Squirtle, which we get from talking to Officer Jenny. And so with a little bit of patience, we get Squirtle to Wartortle and Wartortle to Blastoise. Our Pokedex total is now 125. At this point, there's practically zero encounters left in the game, so the only gym leader we can defeat to give us access to any more Pokemon is Erica, which is extremely easy, and we get access to Strength. I also just want to point out that there's a literal predator outside of Erica's gym, and it's just a joke in a children's game, but like, hey, it's the 90s, I guess it was a crazy time. This was probably pretty low-key back then. After beating Erica, we head to Seafoam Islands, and we now can use Strength to find Articuno in the depths, which adds another legendary to our collection, and our total is now 126. There's literally nothing left for us to catch at this point, so we go beat Blaine, Sabrina, and Giovanni. I also just want to say that Charizard is so broken with just Flamethrower in this game. There is like nothing that can stop it with the exception of like rocks, but like that's it. With all the gym leaders down, the only thing left to do is go to Victory Road and catch Moltres in the belly of Victory Road, making our total 127. Now we can take on the Elite Four and Champion. I also just want to point out that my Elite Four team is quite literally the dream team for 8-year-old me. 2 final evolutions of starters, Dragonite, and the legendary birds. Suffice to say, when your team is 50% legendaries, you kind of zip through the Elite Four and Champion. Down goes Lorelei. Down goes Bruno. Down goes Agatha. Down goes Lance. And down goes Blue. We have done it. We have beaten... Wait, hold what? Whoa. We're not done? Cerulean Cave is now open, and we have 2 final Pokemon to catch. The first is Lickitung, making our total 128. And the final Pokemon of our run, almost too perfect to be true, Mewtwo. And using our one and only Master Ball, we catch it, leaving our final total to be 129. If you're still here, or if you skipped from the beginning to find out what the total time this challenge took me was, honestly, I get it. Even re-watching this video, I got tired. To catch all Pokemon available in Pokemon Yellow without trading or using any other games, you were able to catch 129 Pokemon. So what happened to the other Pokemon? Alakazam, Golem, and Gengar are all trade evolutions. Weedle, Kakuna, Beedrill, Ekans, Arbok, Raichu, Meowth, Persian, Koffing, Weezing, Jinx, Electabuzz, and Magmar are all version exclusives. Hitmonchan, Vaporeon, Flareon, Omanite, and Omastar are all decision Pokemon, and so that's where 31 of the missing Pokemon are from the total. And the last one is Mew, which is a mythical Pokemon that cannot be gotten unless you have access to an event, which I definitely don't have. The final time is 111 hours and 59 minutes. I'm going to be extremely honest with you. You can get this time way down. Johnstone beat this challenge in 82 hours and 17 minutes. Don't get me wrong, it was for Pokemon Red, but pretty similar game. Chaotic Meatball beat it in 35 hours and 37 minutes, which is insanity. He is like an absolute freak of nature to be able to just do it that fast. Like, if I had taken time to maximize each encounter, so I spent way less time backtracking, I could probably shave off 20 hours. I don't know how I could possibly get it down almost 80 hours from my time. That's just actually crazy. If you made it this far though, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you can appreciate the amount of time this challenge took. If you did, please be sure to like and subscribe. If this video gets 50 likes, I will take on Gen 3. I need to research it, but I really want to do Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, so it'll be one of those 3. Also, please be sure to comment how I can improve these types of videos and make them more enjoyable, as this is kind of the first one I've ever made, and I'm just looking for some tips. Have a great day, and thank you so much for the support as always. Peace.